Thank you, Mary. Challenge accepted. The day I managed to pronounce the word Auslandsreise Krankenversicherungsvertrag, thank you. I got a superpower. I'm not sure which one, though, still investigating. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see that our atmosphere becomes more and more intimate. Thank you, those staying here. If you're wondering why I'm presenting a case study from GetYourGuide while I'm now at Zalando, this is because every time I tried letting this project go, the slides would keep showing up in my dreams, whispering, "You forgot to present us." And in my native language, it sounds even creepier. So here we are, me and my slides, and my last attempt to let it go. Today, I would like to invite you on a road trip. Not just any road trip, though. This one will again involve some German vocabulary and bring us from the slower-paced, scenic Landstraße to the speedy Autobahn. And if you don't speak any German, these are types of roads that connect cities in Germany, with the main difference is that on Autobahns, there are segments with no speed limit at all. Sounds like a dream, right? Especially if you have a fast car. This was kind of a dream that we had about our experimentation platform at GetYourGuide as well. At the beginning of this year, GetYourGuide is a tech-heavy marketplace where every meaningful change to a product goes through experimentation. So we had the in-house platform serving many teams with hundreds of tests per quarter. However, every time we wanted to innovate, we hit a roadblock. It was kind of a black box, giving us some unexplainable results. It was hard to come up with new features, with new experimentation types. It was even difficult to add new business metrics. So it was hard to understand, to change, to scale. Now I know that we should have called it tech debt and not our little puppy. So we wanted to open up a faster, wider way for experimentation. We wanted it to be an enabler and not a blocker. And we wanted to build an Autobahn for our data needs. And here ends the idyllic part of my presentation and starts the reality, because obviously we had challenges. And the first one is rather technical. The experimentation service that we had consisted of 3 components. I would like to call them microservices, but no, they were tightly coupled monsters with some critical dependencies flowing through the central one. And of course, you can already guess which one we had to replace. But also, in order to do that, we had to rethink our business side of things. We wanted to come up with new definitions. We wanted to come up with new understanding of what experimentation and GetYourGuide is, because our historical ways of doing things were a little bit unconventional, and we wanted to align it with industry standards. And you probably already see that I'm going to a recipe for disaster, right? Or more specifically, to a golden rule of any major software project that says don't even try to bundle technical refactoring with a product revamp in a single big bang release. And it is called big bang for a reason, because you take all your hopes and dreams and architectural decisions and years of experience, you put it in your particle collider called your favorite IDE, right? And you hope that whatever comes out of it is a new universe and not a black hole. Did we go this way? Yes, we did. And surprisingly, we succeeded. So it's not a story of failure, it's a story of success, but it made us reflect on whether we had done something that led us or brought us to a successful outcome. So here they are, a few of the learnings or tips. This is not the framework, this is not a set of rules that I would recommend you to follow. These are just a few ideas that I personally would like to be reminded about at the beginning of our journey. We will skip the development part. Raise your hand if you don't know how to develop. Okay, no one? Good. So we'll skip the development part. Before we continue, there is one thing that I missed from GetYourGuide. This is their presentation template. You could imagine there would be a split right in the middle, and there would be a professional photo of smiling, traveling people, soaking in attractions on the right, and there would be some content on the left. I decided to reproduce this spirit my way. Please don't judge me too hard. Setting up a dedicated team for your project is usually very visible from the outside. All the people around you know who's doing the actual work, who's delivering the results, who's driving user adaptation. Obviously, it comes with a cost, because if you don't hire people from scratch, if you don't work with consultants, that the only viable option that you have is to pull people from teams around you, jeopardizing their success. And we had a talk delivered by Aman yesterday about tiger teams. So we decided to go tigerless at the beginning. We let people stay. And we needed quite a few of people. We wanted a PM, we wanted a software engineer, data analyst, designer. So we let people stay in their original teams while asking them to contribute to this central experimentation fairy tale, just to realize 3 weeks later, then absolutely nothing was done. And 3 weeks was a very meaningful, very significant part of our timeline. And also it was a group of highly motivated people. So we got together, we had a very open and transparent conversation, trying to figure out what's going on. And what we learned is that when we let people stay in their original teams, ask them to contribute to the central project, we started competing with the natural gravitational forces of those teams, and this is what I call the Christopher Nolan effect. This is very dangerous, because now success of your project depends on your developers' elasticity and resilience, and this is not what we try to test in people. What is that? What are those gravitational forces? Those are team backlogs, typical activities, support tickets, operational excellence, so all of the familiar stuff that we do on a daily basis. So whenever there was a risky decision or there was some decent uncertainty in this new project, it was very typical for all of us, including myself, to go back to our teams and stay in their comfort zones. So the solution was simple. We created a new team. We gave it a name. We came up with a mission statement. We created a Jira board. All of these steps were very little, but cumulatively, that gave us a good sense of belonging to the new team and delivering the new mission. Was everyone around happy? No, not really, but at least it helped us to focus on what truly mattered. All right, we are ready to move on and talk about measuring success. I know this can be a touchy topic for some of our friends across the ocean, especially today, but trust me, I've done my best here. Let me start simple. If you are big banging, you need a metric. You need to measure success. It helps with tracking progress, identifying improvements, and understanding whether the goals are met, especially closer to the end. What is easier to overlook is that, good metric should foster right behavior as well. So remember, we're working with the experimentation platform. We're delivering a better version of it, an Autobahn, right? And at the beginning, it seemed very natural to us because we wanted teams to experiment more freely, it was natural to us to focus on the number of experiments that people would start on our platform. Just pure number of experiments, fine. We started socializing this idea just to realize that some teams interpreted it in a rather creative way. So instead of kind of keeping running their experiments and coming up with more of them, they started splitting their hypotheses into smaller chunks. And even though it could help with some agility, and maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it could become a classic case of quantity over quality. One of engineering managers even told us, give me the number and I'm going to deliver you those experiments that you need. This is not what we needed. but what did we need? So we stepped back and started with the idea that we wanted teams to experiment more freely, especially focusing on teams that have the backlog or queue of their ideas. We wanted them to iterate faster. That was the hint. So our second idea, and actually a successful one, was to focus on shortening time to getting to experimentation results, effectively making more space in a unit of time, for example, in a quarter, for more successful experiments. So what was the metric? Surprisingly, it was very difficult to come up with a good one, so our PM has to lock himself at home for a couple of days with a pack of coffee, and he came out exhausted, stubbled, that's my new word for today, stubbled, but happy. And he brought the idea of freed up experiment days. So this is just the cumulative number of days that we save individual teams by implementing better statistical methods, different experimentation analysis techniques, clearer data flows. I really like this one because it promotes the behavior we need. It reflects what we wanted to achieve. It was also very easy to explain literally to everyone, because all of us are familiar with the idea of shortage of time. We all want more time for things that we love in our lives. So it was easy to communicate the idea, and also it was not difficult to calculate. There was a spreadsheet, and the value appeared there magically every morning. So, like, if some of you were actually responsible for computing that, and you're in the room, please don't throw your spreadsheets at me.
And if you're enjoying this, LeadDev has a ton more to offer.
I'm quite fond of the articles.
I feel like LeadDev blogs are my favorite, and it's been really, really useful to kind of create these more meaningful connections as well.
If there's something you're struggling with as an engineering leader, there's a pretty good chance that LeadDev has published something that addresses it.
So make sure you check out leaddev.com.
Good. Let's move on and talk about collecting feedback. This is cute. There will be more animals in this section, by the way. Collecting feedback, I'm saying an obvious thing. Collecting feedback is important. Yes, you need to listen to users, you need to make sure. But no, this is getting serious. You need to make sure that the problem you're solving is real and not imaginary. And I have so many stories solving problems that only I had in my head. That would be another topic, probably. But the type of feedback that I would like to talk about now is maybe a little bit more deep and psychological. When we build an internal platform, we typically have a low number of users, but the relative weight of every feedback is pretty high. There can be one user, pretty loud, pretty opinionated, who can ruin the whole release or break the perception of your product. So it is very important to keep meeting with our users, asking for how they use our service, what's their experience is, but also to share transparently what we are doing, what's our work, how complex it is, what are the dependencies, and essentially spark their enthusiasm and support. Those look alike, but I see the difference. So enthusiasm would be about advocacy, active collaboration, getting feedback on time. Support is more about their willingness to allocate time and resources. And we will need both of that at the moment of the release. Remember, we're big banging and the release is coming. We will need that. Now, let's put those two dimensions on a two-dimensional plane, and let's talk about types of users that we might get. The first one is our happy panda. Happy panda is happy about our product. Maybe they're a type of people that are always happy and supportive and enthusiastic. We love working with them, but maybe they're truly happy. They don't really need anything. It is very easy to overlook this type of users because they're happy, right? Why to spend time on them? We need to talk to them for two reasons. First of all, we really need to understand what they like so that we do not accidentally remove those features and not degrade their user experience. And also, if they're not really aware of what we are doing, they might end up in some mediocre area, not really being our supporters. It is an easily fixable situation. We meet with them, we share the news, share the timeline, and then ideally we manage to move them to be our supporters. Then we have our skeptical wolf. These users are tough. However, they can help test our assumptions, uncover potential issues early on. It's not like they don't like what we are doing, but they're not exactly sure. Not every piece of feedback should be taken too seriously, but their skepticism can help us to define areas for improvement. They usually start relatively low, but hopefully through iteration, through meeting with them, we manage to move them as well. Finally, we have a disgruntled bear. Did I say wolves are tough? No, bears are tough. They tend to be strong in terms of position in the company, but also the opinion itself. It's very hard to ignore them, and it's dangerous. We shouldn't ignore them. It can be tough to take their criticism, but it is absolutely necessary because they can help us uncover fundamental flaws in what we are doing. They challenge us, but their feedback is inevitable. Probably we won't be able to move them too much, but if we do it, then that usually means we are on the right track. And now to give you an overview of this whole zoo of our users, let me share the story. So 2 days after the release, I met one of our critical users at a coffee machine. 2 days after the release, right? Like everything was still burning, but I had time for coffee. That was a good sign. And we met there, and usually coffee chat is a good opportunity to exchange ideas. So I asked him what he would think about our new product, and he said, I really like it. Okay, happy panda, I thought. And he continued, the UI is great, and the data flows are really what we're looking for in a couple of years. So it seems like it's working really well. And by that point, I was almost ready to frame it and put it on my wall. But then he looked at his cup of coffee, looked at me, and said, but my team can't use it anymore. And I really hope there is a solution. All right. By that moment, I understood it wasn't a quick coffee chat. It was a real cappuccino crisis. So we scheduled some time, and we discussed that for 90 minutes in a row, no bio break. So he was sharing the challenges, and we were trying to find a solution. We were lucky. It was clearly a miss on our side. We didn't account or take into account some of their critical use cases. We were lucky because there was a solution that we implemented rather quickly. But I was absolutely blown away by the way he delivered this feedback to us. He had all the reason to go really angry and really loud. And I asked him about that later, and he said, I did it this way because I was very well aware about all of the complexity that you are doing and all of the teams that you are supporting. And actually, he was ready to sacrifice a little bit of his team time and success so that we could focus on releasing. I'll let you read it in silence. All right. Let's talk release. I know this one can be a bit harder to recognize, but let me give you a hint. The guy in the picture is holding a kebab and not a mobile phone. Does it help? Now, please raise your hands and if you are not living in Berlin. I won't do it because I actually do. Wow, that's a lot of people, a significant portion of our audience. Now, for all the rest, including myself, let's reveal one of the Berlin secrets, okay? to our guests. So everyone, literally everyone in Berlin, no exceptions, has their favorite kebab place. And imagine you go to your favorite one, and a dude at the counter asks, your favorite kebab, as always, right? You say yes, and he is taking a pita and putting some mango chutney and wasabi hummus into it, and he gives it to you. And when you question, like, what is that? He says, no, this is still a kebab. It's a very good kebab. In fact, it's the future of kebabs. It's an autobahn of kebabs. And you look at it, you question his choices, your life choices, and think whether you have to move to a new city. So this is what we almost did to our users with our original release plan. Did I say release plan? Okay, I'm a developer. A lot of you are also developers. What is our favorite release plan? Squash and merge, right? Or push and pray if it's Friday. We didn't think about that much. What it would mean for us. So actually, like someone, right before doing this, raised their hand. I hope it was me. So someone raised their hand and said, let's step back and see how it's going to work in production. So that was our original plan. We set the release date, and we would just merge everything to production. And what that would mean for us, every bar represents an experiment, right? What it would mean is that for many running experiments, we would changing their business logic right in the middle of their run. That would likely mean change the experiment metrics as well. That would likely mean that for some of the teams, the metric could go up. For some of them, it could go down. And a lot of PMs would probably start knocking our door, questioning what's going on here. So we decided to go another way. And this is what we came up with after a careful consideration. So we set the date for the release. But on that day, we allowed all of the experiments to continue on their previous platform. And only new experiments would start on a new platform. Yes, I won't sugarcoat it. It actually meant much more work for us because we had to maintain two systems in parallel for 2 or 3 months. But once all of the old experiments are gone, we actually had a chance to clean things up. But I can't even imagine how many sleepless nights it saved us. There are many ways to release, but if you are big banging, choose the one that optimizes user adoption. All right, and we are coming to an end. Mary said that if I create a summary slide that you will like me more. So here is the summary slide. Consider setting up a dedicated team right from the beginning. Measure success with the metric that drives the behavior you need. Collect feedback early and often, more often than you think. And also try to release smartly so you optimize for user adoption. My name is Eugene. Look for me at Zalando. Thank you for your attention.